Welcome to ParadoxWalk podcast, specializing in glitch in the matrix type activity, dream realities, cryptids, UFOs, any type of unexplainable event. Today's episode will be completely about glitches and my personal glitch of working at a video store while the movie Shazzam was on the shelf at the same time as Kazam, and I have an experience where a parent was going to rent the wrong one, and the kid was making a fuss at the register and no one else knew what he was talking about, and I went and got him the Shazzam movie and handed it to the little boy, and he thanked me enthusiastically, and I took the Kazam movie and put it back on the shelf, and they got the right movie. So I'll tell that story and a couple stories from other people that have had similar experiences, or video store owners that were forced to watch the movie for different reasons. Customers bringing it back in, thinking it's broken or something like that, and trying to get credits, and that story will be told here too. So the first story is from the Jimmy Church radio show, Fade to Black. This was in March of 2017. So this caller, his name is Jason. He claims that he had a weird experience involving the Mandela effect in the Sinbad movie Shazzam, which of course, as of 2022, the year 2022 doesn't seem to exist. Many of us remember it. Those not in the know, if you've never heard of this, it's said that the 90s comedian and actor David Adkins, better known as Sinbad, appeared in a kids movie called Shazzam, which he played a genie. Many people that worked in video stores remember this movie, and it was actually released at the same time as Kazam with Shaq, which those two, if you know, those two actors look nothing alike. You know, if you look it up online, this movie seems to have never existed and never been made. And even Sinbad himself is on record saying that he never appeared as a genie in a movie called Shazzam. But speaking to Jimmy Church, Jason found it incredibly bizarre, and he believes that it did exist and that he momentarily might have had proof of its existence, but apparently the movie never really existed, and this is him being quoted now. So, quote, "This really has bothered me because me and my wife and a whole bunch of other people remember this movie." Once again, he repeats that now it's never existed. Quoting again, "So I guess it's maybe more obscure than some of the other Mandela effects, but the interesting story I have is I was talking to my neighbor, and her name is Mary. She's in her 70s. She remembers it as well, and she meticulously recorded things and cataloged them, and she has a copy of it on cassette, but apparently it never existed." This is where it gets sticky. So, Mary, she has Kazam and Shazzam written down in a catalog where she would write down the numbers of the tapes that she recorded her shows on, and she has both of them listed. Shazzam was tape number 138. And she had it recorded, and she remembered watching it, and she starts saying, "Oh yeah, he's a genie. He drove a taxi. He had purple shoes." She remembers it all, and she dug it out of all of her old cassettes, and she had tape number 138 in her hand. She came upstairs to check the catalog to make sure it was the right one. She comes back down the stairs, and the tape was gone. She had torn her house apart trying to find it, and the tape that she had in her hand, the evidence that this movie actually existed, is now disappeared. Interesting that it disappeared only when she looked away from it. So there's like this theory in quantum physics that if you're like looking at something, that it's a measurable thing, it's being observed as having space and being measurable and being visible. But if this in some weird way, they have this like weird machine that can like delete something from, like you delete a file on a computer, and sometimes it takes a while, right? Like if you have like 20,000 things to delete, you might have to like walk away from your laptop and come back. What if like they did something with a machine and they have millions and millions of these tapes and recordings and VHSs, and they're trying to get rid of it? Maybe there's a lawsuit, maybe someone got sued, maybe they lost millions of dollars making this movie, and they changed their mind. Okay, fire up the Tesla coils, we have to delete this and make it so we never made this mistake. So they like turn on this machine, but it takes a while. It has to like go through every single thing that's ever aired and then wait for it not to be measured and looked at and stared at, because maybe that messes up how the deletion works or something like that. You know, like if you can't delete a file, like if you're watching a video and you try to delete the file while you're watching the video, the computer will say there's an error. What if these machines that undo history or something, what if they can't delete it while someone's looking at it? In the same way you can't delete like a song you're listening to while it's being played on a device. Like you get the little error message, right? I'm wondering if there's something like that going on with these things, because with my case, I worked at a video store. It was called Hollywood Video, and I worked at it, man, probably somewhere between like 1998, I don't know the exact year, somewhere in the late 90s, and we had the DVD on the wall of Shazzam with Sinbad, because Sinbad was like more of like a famous, bigger actor. He was like really, popular at the time. And we had, if you went in like the regular aisles, we had Shaq, the Kazam movie. Now, the instant I got hired, I'm not exactly like a social butterfly, but I'm not exactly shy either. I mean, look at what I'm doing right now. Like, I'm not afraid to like kind of put myself out there a little bit. So I went up to the, every employee. I'm like, how can they get away with this? Like, someone's going to get sued, right? Like, the boxes even look the same. I'm not saying Shaq looks like Sinbad, because like I said before, like no one's going to confuse those two people. They look like almost like opposites, right? Pretty much any employee that would, look at, I'm like, how can they not get sued for this? I've never seen anything like it. And to me, that was the strangest thing about working there. Everything else was pretty much normal, except that there was two movies that looked almost the same box cover, almost the same name, and I couldn't figure out how someone wasn't getting in trouble or getting sued or getting like, and I was met with like shrug. I asked the manager, like, how, don't you think this is weird? They just kind of shrugged. I would ask like another employee. I mean, we were all like kind of like high school age or something. It would just be like, I don't know. And I'm like going around it, eventually I just stopped asking, because, if I was the only one that thought that was just totally bizarre. And to this day, like, I thought something weird was going on back then. Like either someone was going to get sued, or I had never in my wildest dreams imagined one would get deleted from the complete existence of the fabric of reality, but who would have thought that, right? And it's so funny that there's another movie that's almost exactly the same, that's just enough for us to magically, they can point their finger and be like, no, all you idiots, you are confusing it with the other one. But I'm definitely not confusing it when I have one of my biggest memories of working at that store. I mean, not a lot of exciting things happened, but it is pretty exciting when a kid is almost in tears at the counter, like begging for his dad to like find the right one. He's like, no, I want the one with Sinbad. This isn't one. And the dad was just basically ignoring him, like saying, yeah, you just, you're getting it confused. It must be this one. Because they just walked up and down the aisles. They didn't check the new, it was like I don't want to say new release, but it was like where you like featured the more famous and the bigger videos. And I went and got it for him. So I'm not going to like invent that. I'm going to read something from that I found on Reddit that kind of reminds me, it seems like this whole podcast episode is going to kind of go together. I'm going to try to read these really quick. Quote, I managed a video store back in the heyday of video rental business, and I was responsible with my uncle. He was the owner. I owned and managed and dealt primarily with the video game side, so they're co-owners, for ordering the upcoming new release titles for rental as they became available. I took it upon myself to order 2 copies of the Sinbad Genie movie without consulting him. First, because they were such a great deal at half the price of a normal new release back in 1994. In fact, I ordered the second one in a bundle with another movie, which I think may have been called Invisible Mom, with D. Wallace Stone, written by W.C. Martell. I'm not sure this was the title, but the logo of the production studio was similar. The cover had the word Sinbad in a font bigger than the title, and had Sinbad facing left with a kind of a raised eyebrow and his arms crossed facing in side profile to the left. The movie was actually a children's movie, and not an adult audience-oriented comedy, which led to a lot of returns to the store, with people saying, "There's something wrong with this tape," which to my chagrin led me to having to watch the movie to find the supposed damaged portion of the film multiple times. Honestly, I always thought these people just wanted a free rental. The movie only had one funny scene in it, at least to me, and it went like this. The lamp is rubbed for the first time by the two kids, an early teen boy and his little sister who looks to be around 5 years old or so, in their living room by the fireplace, while their single dad is out of the house running an errand. The boy rubs the lamp and Sinbad appears, in full genie attire, turban, ridiculous spiral upturned shoes, earrings, silk pants and shirt, and I believe a green/blue vest, but I can't say for sure. Sinbad stretches out his arms out wide, and the smoke fills the room, and says something like, "I am the genie of the lamp," and the kids freak out. The little girl screams, "Ah, it's a kidnapper," or something like that as they run away. After Sinbad calms them down, he explains that for releasing him from the lamp, they'll be granted 3 wishes, and the boy is skeptical and wishes for something stupid that flew, either like a flying skateboard or a magic carpet or something. But I'm leaning more towards the carpet. The wish is granted, and the kids are amazed, and agree amongst themselves to use their other wishes on something special and important. The little girl asks for her mother back, and Sinbad shows his tender, emotional side by saying, "I'm afraid I can't do that." Not sure if this is because the mom had died, or the parents were separated and he couldn't make people fall in love each other or something. This was 22 years ago, after all. So, after agreeing to save the last 2 wishes, and save one to bring a wife or their old mom to help out their lonely, depressed dad, the girl breaks her favorite doll and wastes a wish by having the genie fix it. Shortly after, the boy comes up with an idea for a second wish, and the girl has to tell him that she already used it. So, with one wish left, the climax of the movie takes place at a pool party involving the dad, his boss, and a bunch of clients. During this scene, a film technique is used, similar to that in The Gods Must Be Crazy, where the speed is intentionally sped up to make things look more cartoon-like and funny, but it ended up just looking stupid and lame. And this is where the wished-for flying thing, I think a flying carpet, appears and knocks down a bunch of people into the pool, which includes the mean boss. They have some kind of happy ending, but honestly, I was just looking for the reported problem with the tape. It wasn't a good movie at all. And except for that scene where the genie appears, it wasn't funny at all. When my uncle sold the store years later, he specifically pointed at those 2 tapes I ordered and said, "I hate that blanking movie." I think he said, "I hate that effing movie." It never even paid for itself after all these years. So there you have the gist of it. If you can tell me another movie that has 2 kids, a genie that looks like Sinbad, or where one of the wishes is fixing the doll, I'd love to hear about it. Please, please, please don't even bring the Shaq movie into this conversation. I can't emphasize enough that it has absolutely nothing to do with this